you have to be willing to be misunderstood when you're an innovator. Innovation requires putting the brakes on traditional thinking, standard procedures, and acceptable norms. By definition, innovators have compelled themselves to ignore problems, ignore obstacles, and ignore failures. Those are the things that stop everybody else from proceeding. Actually, there's a lot of folks that have gotten really good over the years at saying, we can't do that for this reason. Us innovators have a 180-degree view of those things. And while we're ignoring all those obstacles and problems, we share a common quest to accomplish things really important and to accomplish them better, faster, cheaper. Welcome to a hotbed of innovation, also known as the strategic center of the world's largest industry. Travel, tourism, and hospitality combined for 8% of global employment, 9% of global capital invested, and 10% of global GDP. This year alone, millions of citizens will leave their borders for the very first time. And how will you get them as customers? The travel industry marketplace is enormously fragmented because all kinds of travel other than cyber armchair travel requires physically moving from one point to another point, geographical transition. So therefore, the world's largest industry must have tons of infrastructure, destination by destination by destination, all over the world. But ironically, again in this world's largest industry, the travel researching, planning, sharing, booking, memorializing process is wholly digital. It's rooted in intangible things and requires a lot of data flow and information processing. I don't know if I'm happy or sad, but this is exactly my 20th year in travel technology. I used to have hair. But I can tell you that the proverbial travel transaction and everything leading up to it looms large year after year, decade after decade, as one of the most complicated, involved transaction types in the global economy. The demands on underlying technology are staggering. But no other market can match the rewards when you get technology right and when you continually improve it. Technology-based innovation that improves customer planning, travel planning experiences is a critical catalyst for growth. That should be like the mantra. Technology-based innovation that improves customer travel planning experiences is a critical catalyst for growth. Thus, the Travel Innovation Summit at the PhoCusWright Conference is born. Since the difference between winners and losers in our space is often determined by the quality of our technology-based applications, we ran with the idea of putting a Hollywood-sized spotlight on a collection of these applications. In this event's inaugural year, applicants have come from all over the industry and all over the world to showcase to you what they believe will win. And this is precisely where value creation and market growth come from, especially in these times. Each applicant was thoroughly vetted by PhoCusWright analysts. It was a rigorous application process, followed by a 30-minute interview process, and a lot of scrutiny on the underlying technology. Only the most innovative made the cut, 32 in all. 7 are startup, 14 are emerging at 1 to 2 years old, and 11 are established companies. The focus is on innovation, not age, and the focus is on demonstration, not presentation. With handheld interactive voting devices that will be demonstrated to you shortly, you, the audience, will critically assess each demonstration on what you think the technical value is and the potential business merit. You'll also be asked what you think might be the impact on the industry. Ask any investor that has 20 companies in a portfolio, and they'll always tell you, I know 2 of them will succeed, and I just don't know which 2, and that's why I do 20, and that's why we have 32. Facing the gauntlet of public opinion, they will be exposed to the ultimate test, and that's squaring with the wisdom of the crowds. The 6 innovators with the highest audience scores, 2 each from the 3 categories, will be announced during tomorrow's poolside luncheon, followed by a press conference. And these winners then advance to the next round on Wednesday and Thursday at the Center Stage program over at the Grand Ballroom next to the Kodak Theater. They each have 5 minutes of fame to describe their innovation and convince a blue ribbon panel of judges that they will indeed be a notable success. May the best innovation win. Perhaps Ayn Rand said it the best in her famous book, The Fountainhead, and I quote, "Throughout the centuries, there were men who took first steps down new roads armed with nothing better than their own vision. Their goals differed, but they all had this in common, that their step was first, the road new, the vision unborrowed, and the response they received, hatred. The great creators, the thinkers, the artists, the scientists, the inventors stood alone against the men of their time. Every great new thought was opposed. Every great new invention was denounced. The first motor was considered foolish. The airplane was considered impossible. The power loom was considered vicious. Anesthesia was considered sinful. But the men of unborrowed vision went ahead. They fought, they suffered, and they paid, but they won." And now, it is with great pleasure for me to introduce the person driving this Innovation Summit from behind the scenes. First as a customer when he headed Sabre Labs, and now as PhoCusWright Senior Technology and Airline Analyst, we've all had the pleasure to get to know him and to work with him. I think the Travel Innovation Summit is his tour de force. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a guy who knows a thing or two about travel technology, Mr. Bob Hoffman.